everybody? It's your favorite gentleman, Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. Today, I wanted to do something a little bit different for my audience. You guys, I have a very special guest here on the show today, and he is bringing something powerful, something unique, something that needs our attention, needs our focus. And I wanted to bring this to the forefront of your attention because it's that important. It involves our world and our green economy and the world as it is today. And this man is changing the way changing the way we take care of our environment, and so that we can last and make it into the foreseeable future. And so I have a little video for you today, and I'm going to play it so you can see how important and how serious this is.
Today, my goal is to convince you that we cannot take fresh water for granted. Of all the usable fresh water, all the fresh water that's ever been, that's how much we will have forever. There is no additional fresh water on the horizon.
The problem that we're trying to solve at Aquipor has to do with stormwater runoff pollution. This has quietly become one of the most pervasive environmental issues that cities face today. The number is 10 trillion gallons of polluted runoff and raw sewage ends up in clean waterways each year from U.S. cities discharging. With our technology and our approach, we want to get stormwater back into the ground naturally and totally eliminate runoff pollution. Aquipor permeable pavement technology allows water to soak through the material and into the ground below. The difference with this and a lot of other materials is that this is as strong, if not stronger than concrete. So it can be driven on, parked on, walked on.
Stormwater is actually that water that falls in the form of rain or melts off as snow and comes off of our city streets, off of sidewalks. There are a lot of ways to get out in front of this source of pollution. And one of the best ways is to mimic nature and intercept that stormwater before it ever arrives in the pipes.
We've essentially invented a hard surface that mimics soil. Our secret sauce is in the pore size. Ever since the beginning of this venture, we've been focused on sub-micron porosity. The smaller the pore size, the more we can filter. This helps us address clogging issues. So streets like these, you can maintain the way you currently do.
I started researching permeable pavements about a decade ago, and I have always felt that the solution with permeable pavement would be to locate it in a curb and gutter. And this is the first technology I've seen that's specifically designed to be located in that place. It's got a really small footprint. It can fit right in that roadway area, and it can infiltrate back into the ground and recharge the aquifer.
This is a call to action, to keep the raindrops where they fall. Why? Because the preservation of our fresh water, including stormwater, is crucial to the survival of our cities. We believe in the science behind this technology and in our ability to scale at large. Your investment will help us get it into manufacturing of this groundbreaking material. Our hope is that you'll join us in our journey, right from where you stand.
I think it goes back to the old Chinese proverb. Our generation will plant the trees that the next generation enjoys the shade of.
So today on Gentleman Style Podcast Show, I have the incredible, powerful, amazing, incredible Mr. Kevin Kunz of Aquipor. Round of applause for this incredible man, y'all.
Marcus,
Sir,
I appreciate you having me.
I appreciate you, sir. Thank you for taking time to be on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show today, sir. What you are doing is incredible. What you are doing is amazing, sir. And I had to have you on the show, and I'm glad you're here. Tell us, sir, what inspired Aquipor? you have a phenomenal mind. You have an incredible team backing you. What inspired Aquipor? What's the mission here?
Yeah, a great question. Thank you for asking. About 5 years ago, my current business partner and I, we were already in the realm of trying to innovate permeable pavement. And so for your viewers to kind of give an understanding of what permeable pavement is, it's hard surface that allows water to pass through it. And that's been around since the early 90s. But it's pea gravel that's glued together with Portland-based cement, which emits carbon, and that's a major problem for our environment. Or they're just regular 4x8 bricks with gaps in between them to where the water would go, the stormwater would infiltrate around the paver itself. But the problem is for like professionals like landscape architects and civil engineers, these practices weren't considered sustainable because they were clogging. And so my partner and I said, how can we innovate on permeable pavement? And our thought was, the smaller we could make the pore size of a material, the more we could reduce the clogging issue that was occurring. And so through years of research and development, I had a little kiln in my garage and I was putting samples in and making mixed designs, and 95% of them didn't go well. But that 5% that did helped sort of push the momentum into saying that this dream was possible, to make a building material that would last a long time but could be maintained. So private developers can use it as part of their parking lot or their backyard patio for residential applications. But what we're really focused on now is cities, because the flooding and pollution problems that are occurring in our nation, and I know New York got hit really hard by Hurricane Ida. So this is now a problem that's in many communities' backyards, is to say, what kind of new material can we use that would reduce the overall runoff to the gutter that we all see at the end of the street, that drain? Because in reducing the capacity of our infrastructure underneath our cities, our pipes that usually carry that stormwater, and keeping raindrops where they fall into our neighborhoods, we can provide more sustainable solutions and really combat this flooding and pollution problem, Marcus.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. So you touched on this several times. Well, when I think stormwater, you said this throughout what you said, and I don't think the gravity of stormwater is really hitting the audience, hitting me, right? When I think stormwater, I think, oh, it's just water, it's just nature, and it's from Mother Nature, it's safe. But why is that a bad thing, and why is it such a terrible thing for that stormwater to get into our systems and get back into the communities and our gutters and our streets?
Yeah, absolutely. The first concrete sidewalk was put down in Detroit in 1909. So we've been building this way in our communities for about 110 years or 120 years now. And so the difference for us is to say, why do we have all this impermeable surface? By impermeable, I mean things that don't allow water to pass through. And the problem with that is, as raindrops collect, they all go to the lowest point on properties. And the way we've built our infrastructure is that's always the gutter at the end of the street. But now with climate change, and what climate change is doing, climate change is bringing more intense weather patterns to our communities across our nation, especially down south and back east. Not only are we getting more rain in a year, but we are getting more rain faster. So these systems that we've developed, they're reaching capacity. And so even the federal government, they've known this issue for some time now, and legislation is now just recently really recognizing the need to reduce the flow to these gray infrastructure systems. Because when they reach capacity, that's really where the flooding problems occur. The other underlying issue with stormwater is, say it's not a huge water bomb that's flooding our communities, stormwater is still an issue because it's carrying pollutants, phosphorus, dissolved zinc, copper, lead. Humans are naturally pretty dirty people. We think out of sight, out of mind, when stormwater goes into the gutter at the end of the street? Well, it's whatever the city wants to do with it. But I mean, we still understand the importance of composting and recycling, right? My question is why aren't we using stormwater as a freshwater asset? Because when we don't, pollutants are then carried to main bodies of water. So that gutter that we put our stormwater into, again, out of sight, out of mind, that's actually carrying toxins to rivers, lakes, and streams at a rate of up to 10 trillion gallons per year. And it's even our raw sewage. Believe it or not, we still live in an age where we actually still send raw sewage to our main bodies of water. If we are going to save the planet and embrace this environmental shift in sustainable practices, that has to be a part of it.
My hero. He's a rock star, y'all. Rock star. I told you guys had to bring this powerhouse to the stage, to the Gentleman Style Podcast stage. We have one quick commercial break from our VIP sponsors of the show. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
If you're looking for a reliable professional trucking and logistics service, you've come to the right place. Musa Trucking is a veteran-owned and operated premier transportation provider that can help with all of your trucking and logistics needs. Musa is revolutionizing the trucking industry through strategic partnerships, the development of core personnel, and the use of cutting-edge technology. Our inventory system ensures that cargo ends up divided into the right trucks and reaching the correct destination. Our drivers are dedicated to transporting goods efficiently and safely. Contact us today to get started by visiting the website on the screen or by calling 757-756-5246.
We are back to the Gentleman Style Podcast show. If you missed it, if you aren't tuning in, we have the incredible, the amazing Mr. Kevin Kunz. And he just spilled some very, very powerful tea. And he shared what Aquipor is doing and how it's changing the environment and how it's protecting our environment and replenishing and restoring that rainwater, that stormwater, full of contaminant, full of pollutants, and just dangerous for our environment. If you missed that, if you didn't catch any of that, go back, scroll back, and tune in to this powerhouse speaker of the Gentleman Style Podcast show. Mr. Kunz, sir, how does Aquipor work exactly? How does it work? So it's actually, the rainwater is hitting it, right? And so the water is just passing through? Is it a sponge and it's expanding until it's full? Or what's exactly happening when this water actually hits the Aquipor material, the permeable material?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'd like to answer with an analogy. You know, if you look outside and you see a tree, trees have roots and trees have green leaves at the top of the tree. Sometimes water can get 300 feet into the air and it's not plugged in like an iPhone. How does water get to fill those leaves at the top of a tree? And it's really how we wanted to mimic our material technology. And that's through the use of a scientific term called capillary action, which is the further you string water molecules out, the more you can defy the laws of gravity. And so our thought, our philosophy behind the material technology is to make these water channels as thin as we possibly could, to where you're preventing things that don't dissolve in stormwater at the surface, but also utilizing the material technology as an opportunity to capture the stormwater. And then what you do with it as a freshwater asset after is really up to the city that installs it. So the large majority of the time, we want to drive this stormwater back to the aquifer using gravity. You know, if we can recharge groundwater supply and keep raindrops where they fall, we will be mimicking the natural water cycle rather than the raindrop hitting an impermeable surface, running off to where it shouldn't have belonged. And then, you know, there's also opportunities to use this as a freshwater asset for potable water reuse, you know, to reuse for flushing toilets and whatnot. It really comes down to what the engineered design will be like, and really the desires of the communities that are capturing that stormwater.
That's powerful. Wow. Changing the absolute game here. You are a genius. You are a genius. This is $1 million idea, sir. First off, the way I found you is your company is actually open to taking investors. This has to cost like $1 million to get in. How much to invest in? What's the minimum investment? What's the maximum investment to get in on this opportunity?
Yeah, so back in 2017, we were hearing wind of this form of fundraising called equity crowdfunding. You know, we've all heard of the GoFundMes of the world and, you know, different ways of raising money for philanthropy. And the use of the crowd is an amazing thing. But the Securities and Exchange Commission actually changed the ruling several years back to allow the common investor who believes in an idea the opportunity to place an investment into a startup company. And that's actually called Regulation CF crowdfunding. So there's a company out of Los Angeles. You know, again, I'm taking myself back to 2017. There were, as this market was evolving, we wanted to make sure we gave this venture an opportunity to succeed on a platform. And so Start Engine and the Start Engine community in Los Angeles has really taken the reins in terms of crowdfunding for equity. So what you can do is the link that's shared there, you can click in and the minimum investment is $250. But what it does is it actually gets you shares in our business. So as low as $250 all the way to whatever you would actually want to invest, hop onto the crowdfund and you can own shares of this idea. What we really like as founders is we're in this together. Like the stormwater problem is in the communities. We don't want to be up here at the top enjoying the benefits. We want to share this opportunity with communities if they believe in it like we do.
I wish I could give him a microphone so he could drop it. That's how powerful this is. If you were ever on the fence about getting in, if you were upset about yourself, if you were kicking yourself, right? If you was like, man, I could have bought more Apple stock. Man, I wish I had gotten in when Amazon first took off. This is your opportunity. Here you have it. The Amazon, the Apple, the Tesla of the world, front and center here on the Gentleman Style Podcast stage. And you have an opportunity to invest and get in on the ground level and be a part of the future. That's what this is.
Very grateful for having me on. And, you know, $250 still is a lot of money to folks right now. We understand we're coming out of a pandemic. Folks are struggling in many different ways. And if you can't invest, you can still help us by just sharing the content. The more awareness that we create around this, the better. So even if you can't invest, you can still help us along the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have one more quick commercial break, y'all. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Good day, podcast listeners. This is your boy, Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. I wanted to let you guys know that we will be rolling out a new feature and adding a join sponsor button next to the subscriber button here at the bottom of your screen. Once you click the button, it will display 3 membership levels. Gentleman Gentry, which is our entry level, Duke Duchess, which is our season level, and the Emperor and Empress, which is our most sophisticated level, which you will receive unique perks and benefits at each differing level and gain access to our community tab. We will also be sharing polls, upcoming events, and interviews, as well as receive feedback from our sponsors directly. Your support helps me find new and exciting guests to bring to the stage live. Well, in order to get the higher end speakers, it requires, you guessed it, money. So thank you for tuning in to my channel And if becoming a sponsor sounds good to you, then select the join button below and choose your desired sponsor level. Let's continue to grow and serve the future of generations of men and women to come. Love you guys. Bye. We are back to the Gentleman Style Podcast stage. Today we have the Vice President, Mr. Kevin Cooks of Aquipor. And he just broke down how his product, how his company is taking investors. And he understands and he recognizes that $250 is a lot of money to some, but it's also an investment. And investments are for the long game. They're not overnight get rich quick schemes. They're not make you a millionaire tomorrow. But this is more than that. This is a movement. This is changing the world we live in and making it a better place. Not for today, not for next week, but tomorrow down the road. And that's what this company is about. That's the game that they're changing. This is powerful. Mr. Kevin, sir, I want to dive in. I want to dive in a little bit more here. The permeable pavement. I see what other applications, who's the ideal client for this product? And does it have applications like affordable housing? You know, can I build a concrete home in the Philippines where housing is difficult? Does it have applications in other areas or usage areas?
It's again a great question. You look at the history of infrastructure in the United States and things like redlining, where we took out the native trees in what are impoverished neighborhoods. And so now with increase in temperatures, you have things like heat domes that are just really bringing in a lot of pain and infrastructure into low-income communities. Our thought, and one of the main applications for this, is modernizing the sidewalk. So rather than ripping up all of our roadways with this 1.2 trillion in infrastructure that we're discussing, our concept is to modernize utility infrastructure by modernizing the sidewalk. We ask the question all the time, why does the curb line exist? You know, we have scooters everywhere, right? 3 out of 5 scooter ride accidents, they occur because someone's going into or off of a curb line. So really the curb line's only there to push water to a gutter. If we were to eliminate the curb line, be able to widen our sidewalks, you would be able to provide a better experience in our thoroughfares by slowing traffic down, allowing space for scooters and other electric vehicles. And then your sidewalk is further away from cars and it's much more peaceful as well. So one of our main applications as we enter the marketplace and what we're building at a precast manufacturing plant right now is an 80-foot mock-up that we believe simulates what the modern day sidewalk could represent. That includes low-income and impoverished neighborhoods, because arguably that's where broadband connectivity is at its lowest. That's where there's a greater need for decentralized energy. And then you have that flooding component that, hey, if we can eliminate all three by doing one simple modernization of our infrastructure, then we could really accomplish a lot.
There it is. There it is. Mr. Kevin, I want to ask, what's a piece of advice would you give to that young investor out in the audience? What would you say to that young man or that young woman? They have an idea or they're on the fence about investing. What would you say if you had one more nugget to share? What would you say to that young girl or young boy?
Everyone's born with a passion. So it's up to you what you decide to do with that. That includes with your investment. I would suggest, if you are interested in investing, 1, do your homework, and 2, invest in what you're passionate in. And if you don't know what that is, that's okay too. Pray about it.
Pray about it. Yeah. Thank you for that. What's your favorite book? What's a book that you recommend every boy or every person read?
Yeah, I'm naturally a very optimistic and hopeful person, which made this pandemic a little difficult, because when you see social unrest like we experienced, the powers of our world to be and the greed that perpetuates into our anthropocentric society, it becomes very frustrating. But Obama's book, The Promised Land, was incredible because his transparency in office gave me hope to say not all politics are bad. I mean, whether we like politics or not, it's a part of our lives. Whether we're right or left or somewhere in the middle, it does affect us, and our votes really matter. And so that book put into context for me what it means to vote, what it means to get other people to vote, and ultimately what it means to take care of our communities too. So
love that. Love that. I forgot to mention, y'all, a heart of gold. Powerful, powerful, powerful. Mr. Kevin, sir, I thank you for taking time out of your busy day to give back in this way. This has been epic, epic, epic. How can my audience connect with you? How can we join in this movement? The train has already left the station, but how can we but it's not too late to hop on board. How can we connect with you? How can we learn more? And how can we become a part of what you're doing?
Yeah, Aquipor, Aquipor. We're on Facebook and Instagram. Our Start Engine, our crowdfunding website is startengine.com/Aquipor. All of the information regarding our company is there. And then we do our best to respond to all messages that we receive because, if people are taking an interest in what we're doing, that's how you create a movement. And so if there's any questions from your audience members, feel free to reach us on those socials and we'll do our best to get back to you when we have the time.
I love it. Love it, love it. Again, that's startengine.com, Aquipor, to connect and invest. And that website is Aquipor, Aquipor.com. Check this company out. You don't want to miss it. Got to get invested. Got to get ahead of the problem, right? We got to be in front of it, not behind it, because we only have one planet, one whole planet, and that's it. You don't get a new one. You don't get a redo button, right? You don't get to start over. So we got to take care of it today.
Yeah, it's a great point. And that actually brings up one last point for us is if we were able to look at climate change, because it's a really kind of a negative subject. If you bring it up at the dinner table, people pretty quickly want to change to a different topic. To put some hope and light into that, there are companies out there that are looking to be much more proactive rather than reactive to these storms. And like you said, we believe that they're not just companies like us, but many others out there that are looking to combat these issues that we're facing with our infrastructure. And so hope is alive and well, Marcus.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.
Love it. I want to say this to you, public, sir. Don't give up. Don't ever quit. We need you. We need what Aquipor is doing. And so I want to say this to you, public. When those days when you're feeling low and you're feeling tired and you're feeling drained, you don't feel like going on, continue. Keep going because we need you. You're changing the world one household, one family, one pavement at a time.
Appreciate that, Marcus.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to say thank you all for joining the Gentleman Style Podcast show. Thank you, Miss Kanidra, for becoming a VIP sponsor to the show and joining the platform. We appreciate you. We love you. Like I end every show, take care of your friends, take care of your family, and always, always take care of business. This is Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast show and Vice President of Aquipor, Mr. Kevin Kunz, changing the future, changing the game for all of us and paving the way for a better tomorrow. Love you guys.
Keep doing your thing, Marcus. We'll see you. Thank you.